I'm Kat Udane of Foxhole Films.
And I'm Makayla McIntosh of Siren of the Pacific Productions.
We're your hosts of the Gatecrashers podcast.
Coming to you now. The Gatecrashers theme is by Derek Graham Sound.
Let it play out. Adam is an award-winning film director, writer, and producer passionate about both entertaining and thought-provoking projects. His latest endeavor is a film adaptation of the off-Broadway stage play Better Places to Go. He is known through festivals and streaming platforms for his work on films such as Already Dead, Shredded, Ray, Gemini, Macabre Mountain, Extraction USA, and 113 North Indigo Drive. Adam founded his production company, Candid Life Entertainment, and is based in Youngstown, Ohio.
And without further ado, here's Adam Michael.
And welcome to Gatecrashers, Adam. We're so excited to have you.
Adam.
Thank you. So good to see both of you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
I know. Thank you for being
This is
here.
our first time meeting. No, I'm kidding.
Ever.
We've met. I know. No, we have a long, long history together, which I'm excited to dive into that, but also...
Dun, dun, dun.
Why don't you start us with how you got into the industry?
Like most of us movie geeks, I've loved film ever since I was a kid. It was my escape. I had not the greatest childhood, and film was really my escape. It was what I went to, and it was what I always loved. And when I graduated high school, actually, everybody was surprised that I wasn't going to film school. And I always say I wasn't ready to turn what I loved into my work yet. So I went to normal college, not knowing what I wanted to do, and then worked in higher education for about 12 years. I worked in college admissions counseling, and it was great. And, it was cool. And everybody said, just work your way up and become, run an office and be in charge of people and make all the big decisions and you'll be happy. And then I got there and I wasn't happy. And I was always writing films in my head, always. Everything I saw, every interaction I had, every place I went, I would write a script in my head about it. But I never put it on paper.
Never on paper?
Nope, never on paper.
I love that.
And one day I was leaving work and I drove past a diner. And there was a couple talking in the diner, and I just remember becoming obsessed with what they were talking about. One of them was very, very upset, and the other one looked very sad. And I kind of wrote in my head what their conversation was about. But I was really kind of struggling with the dialogue of it. Like, I had the idea of the conversation, but it's weird to say, but the dialogue felt invasive to their lives. And so I thought, well, I could just make this into a silent film and make it all about emotions. And, that something is happening, but we don't know what it is as an audience. And I went home and I told my wife about it. And she was like, that's cool. You should make it. And I went, yeah, but how do you make a film? How do you make she was like, you know more about movies than any other human I've ever met. Just make a movie. And I was like, yeah, and I will never forget this. This is the moment that changed my life. For anybody listening that knows, will know that this is very character of her. She looked at me and she said, I guess you could make excuses why you couldn't make a movie, or you can just make a movie.
That's a good partner.
Em and I
That's
are friends.
a good
I
partner.
love Em.
And that night I bought the cheapest camera I could find on Amazon, and I bought the cheapest lights I could find, and I bought the cheapest everything. And about a month and a half later, I made a silent short film about that conversation in a diner. And I actually got to film in a diner, and I literally just reached out to a local diner. My first phone call I made. I was like, hey, can I make this stupid little movie in your diner? And they're like, yeah, sure. And I went, oh, all right, well, that was easy. And it's never been that easy.
And for those that don't
since.
know, where are you based? Because this is definitely not LA.
Yeah, no, so I am in Ohio. At the time when I did that, I was in Cleveland, Ohio. And now I am in the Boardman area of Ohio, which is south of Youngstown. So that's kind of
I thought you were going to stop at the Board area of Ohio.
Now I'm in Board, Ohio. No, I love it. And, I made this and I was like, cool, I made a movie. Yay, me. And there was a local film festival in Cleveland. And I reached out to them and said, hey, I'm poor. Can you send me a waiver? And they sent me a waiver and I submitted it. And I was like, if they accept it, that'll be cool. And I ended up winning in the festival.
That's awesome.
And
do you remember what the festival was?
Yeah, it was the Indie Film Gathering. It's called the Indie Film. It's been going on for 20 some years in Cleveland.
Cool.
Yeah. So it was cool. Like I submitted it. It was 5 minutes. So I submitted it for like the micro short like thing, and I
Yep.
ended up winning. And then I
Dang.
said, okay, I'll submit it to a couple other festivals around the country that had really low, amounts to like submit for,
Mm-hmm.
and I won at a few more festivals, and I went, okay, I guess I'll use this to make another short film, and then that was like 20 some short films ago,
Nice. And
and
how many
here I am.
features?
One, two, three, four, five features.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
So, what was and maybe you want to save this for shredded, but what point did you leave your corporate job? Like, what was the point you dove all in?
Yeah, actually it was before Shredded. It was right before my first feature, which was 113 North Indigo Drive. And that's on my YouTube. All of my everything that I do is under my production company, which is Candid Life Entertainment. So that feature is on YouTube. But I just remember I had an idea for a short film, and it was about a man abducting a woman and her trying to escape. And that short, I started writing it. I was like, I want it to be around 10 pages. And then like 85 pages later, had my first feature, because I don't, and what I learned about myself is I don't try to dictate the writing. I let the writing dictate me. And I couldn't stop writing, and I developed, and it started as one woman, and then it became multiple women, and then it became chapters. Like we see one woman and we see what happens to her, then we see another one, then we see another one, and it's like, this isn't like a one-off guy. This is a predator who is doing this to women over the course of a period of time. And then, the women decide to kind of fight back, and it's just kind of the idea was very intense, because I wanted to do away with the notion of, I really like taking a concept that we're all very familiar with, a story that we've all seen before, and then turning it on its head, and then really kind of adding. So, spoiler alert, I guess, in the very beginning of the film, you see one of the women fight back, and you're like, okay, cool, she's going to escape and she's going to beat this guy, and she doesn't. And it's like, oh, and that was, for a lot of people, that was a surprise thing of like, they were like, oh, I thought, okay, that's interesting. She makes her big stand, and I thought she was going to get away, and she doesn't get away. So, it was a really kind of interesting kind of look into that story. And I remember as I was planning for it, I was, going to work and working events, and then coming home and writing, and then reviewing auditions. The first time I ever posted like on Backstage, and I got like 600 auditions.
Wow.
I'm the kind of person where like I owe it to watch all of them. I'm doing this on my own.
Love
I'm
that.
watching audition after audition after, and I'm up until midnight, and then I'm getting up at 5 a.m. to go to work. And I was just like, this isn't sustainable. And once again, she was like, you got to give up one of these. And I was like, well, I'm not making any money as a filmmaker, so I know which one I got to give up. And once again, she goes, yeah, you got to give up the admissions. And I was like, what? And she was like,
Perfect
Adam,
partner for you.
yeah. She was like, Adam, I've never seen you like this. You're so happy when you're making these, and when you're having these interactions. Like, I've seen a joy in you that I've never seen before. And she was like, and I have no interest in being a part of like dimming that. I have no interest in that. And I was like, but things will be hard. And she was like, yeah, absolutely. And she's like, but we'll figure it out and we'll make it work. And that was like almost 6 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So what do you remember like handing in your notice? I want to know what that moment
Oh my
was
God,
for you on
yes.
your last day
Such
at
a fun
work.
story.
Yeah.
So winter break had finished, and I reached out to my supervisor, and I just said, hey, just so I'm handing in my resignation, 2 weeks. I'll have everything in, files to give to you. I'll have everything laid out of, next steps, what to do. I'll reach out to people. I'll make all the contacts. I'll do all the things. And she was like, oh, okay. She was like, so you don't have to answer this, but can I ask, what school are you going to? Because in admissions, if you're leaving, you're going to another school for either a title raise or a pay raise or whatever it is. And I said, oh no, I'm not going to another school. I said, I'm stopping to make movies. And the look that she gave me is one that I will always remember. And her tone of like, what? You're okay. So did you sell an idea for a movie to like Netflix or something? And I was like, no. And she was like, and she said, so wait, you're quitting, you're quitting just to make a go at this? And I said, yeah. And what she said to me was, I will never be that brave. And I remember thinking two things. Number one, like, yeah, this is brave and really scary. And number two, I agree. I don't think you ever will be, because the funny idea of it is, and I tell people this all the time, is like, there's a reason sometimes why cliche things stand. And for me, it's, the idea of if you can do anything else, do it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's what this industry is. If you can do anything else, do that.
Yeah.
Because this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
hard. This is really hard.
Yeah.
But if you can't do anything else, then this is all you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as soon as I quit that job and got into this, I've never looked back.
Yeah.
That's
And
fantastic.
I think what's important for people to know is like sometimes it's a little easier when you're in your 20s to do that because you still feel like you have this whole life ahead of you and can still, but you weren't in your 20s when you decided to make
I
this
was in
leap.
my mid 30s. And I think that's a great point, Makayla, is, when you are younger, it's so much like the world is my oyster and I can just make choices and I have things I can fall back on and I can always do. I was 12 years into a career. And so it was really scary. It was really, really scary.
Yeah.
But um, you know, it was I have this idea of something that I've thought about for a long time, which is I think in everybody's life, there's maybe only 5 to 10 different really big moments you have. Like there's a million decisions every single day, but I think there's only about 5 to 10 really, really big life choices. Like, am I gonna be in a relationship with this person or not? Am I gonna break up with this person or not? Am I gonna take this job? Am I gonna ask for more money? Am I gonna pursue this career? Am I gonna have children or not have children? Like there's these major decisions. And for me, choosing to quit the job and pursue filmmaking was one of those moments. And I knew that I couldn't pass it up and I didn't have any interest in passing it up. Because I think about everything in kind of big picture. And like when I look back on my life, I'm not going to think about how big my office was at that place. I'm gonna think about,
What?
yeah, I'm gonna think about the people I met on set. I'm gonna think about the scripts and the relationships and the performances I got to see and the worlds I got to be a part of building. Like that's what I'm gonna think about.
Yeah. And you can't, I'm sure other people feel it in a career in a different way, in a way that like we will never understand. But I know like for Kat and I both, like there's nothing like being on set and there's nothing like watching all the people come together to make this thing that was on paper at one point and now is like playing out for your very eyes.
It's crazy to bring words to life. We get to spend our lives, because I also think it's important to not forget that we're living the childhood dream. Like we get to play pretend and we get to turn it into beautiful art and work that touches people and changes lives and has built an entire industry. And, I'm sure the both of you know people, or maybe it's happened to you personally, where like, you have these moments where you see lives actually changing, like you see people change. And I know that this industry has saved people's lives. The last set I was on before Better Places, I had a conversation with somebody about how they were feeling the worst they've ever felt in their life. And they couldn't find a job. They couldn't even get an interview for a job. And so one of their friends worked in film and asked them to come and just PA and help out. And they're just like, it changed my life and I met the most amazing people. And now I work in film and I'm a second AD and I'm working my way up and it changed everything. And it's like, that's it. This industry can change lives and it can steer you in a direction that can really kind of give you meaning and like purpose. And it's also fun. We get to have a blast. Like, I worked on set with both of you. I've been lucky enough to direct both of you, and you're both extremely talented actors and filmmakers and creatives. Like I've seen films that you've made, and I've got to direct you, so I've kind of seen the both sides, of it, which is really cool for me. I directed Kat in a short that we did, $1 Million Game, which was so fun, and it's still one of my favorite moments in anything I've ever directed. When you have that switch in the film, Kat, when you kind of switch your character over, it's just so good, and it gives me like chills every time. $1 Million Game is on my YouTube as well, so you can check out Kat's performance.
Is it?
You have to watch it.
I didn't know.
Yeah, and then I've directed Makayla in like 55 different things.
You just said 20 shorts ago, so that math there. No,
how
I'm kidding.
How many things have I? You were in
Theater 4 was the first one where you filmed in a real movie theater. And then
met
we all
Kat on
collaborated
Firefly
together.
Lane.
Firefly Lane.
Yeah.
We did
Which was the
another
project
short.
from episode 1 that Makayla wrote for class and then filmed. We all filmed together.
And that started this whole crazy journey.
That's what I'm saying.
Better Places to Go. There's the
Oh
typical
yeah,
New York
which
Siren.
just wrapped, right? Sorry, Sirens.
Yeah,
Talk
November.
about
Better
talk
place
about
to go.
Better Places to Go. Tell me more.
Yeah, actually,
One thing before we launch into Better Places to Go, because you touched on something that I don't want to miss. I always think of movies as like they save people's lives that watch them, and we could tell so many stories. But I love what you've said about being on set and finding community, because yes, there's a whole ethical issue of AI stealing people's work. But I think what you just hit on that no one thinks about is like the being on set is the great part of this. It's the community
yeah,
part, and it's the part that AI
Yeah.
will take away from us if we don't
yeah.
fight for that. But because
No,
I've never thought of it that way too, but you're so right.
yeah, 100%. My home away from home is a film set, and as we all know, there are levels to film sets. There's sets you get on, you go, I'm not doing that again. I'm not working with this person again or whatever. And then there's sets you get on where you don't want to leave. That 12-hour day ends and you're exhausted, but you're like, man, I can't wait to come back tomorrow. This is good stuff, And you meet people and you make connections and you build your community and you become a family. And people, some of my closest people I have in my life, some of my favorite humans I've ever met, it's come from film.
Yeah.
Like Faith I met in film. My best friend Ashley I met on a film set. Like my really good friend Cassidy I met through Steel City Con, and I only got involved there because of film. Like I have these like amazing people in my life that I can't picture my life without, and it's come from film. It's come from these relationships and these conversations. And AI, I am sure where it is now, where it'll be a year from now and 5 years from now, it's going to be so good and so perfect, and you're going to be able to just recreate in seconds what we spend weeks doing. And that's yay, great for AI, but it will take away community. It will break family. It will break community. When you get on projects and you see certain names in the crew or the cast, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I get to work with this person again, and I get to do this. And then you work with them in different ways. Like I got to, direct Makayla, and then I got to create something with Makayla, and then I got to direct Makayla again. So it's like when you get to work with people on multiple projects, multiple angles, you see people move up. You see somebody start as a PA, and then years down the road, they're a first AD running a set, and you're just like, if that doesn't fill you with so much like love and joy and appreciation for what we do, and you see confidence being built. When I made 113 North Indigo Drive, I worked with Megan Lynn Hostetler, and it was like one of her first projects like she ever really did. And she was one of the most no-brainer castings I had ever made. She was so perfect for this role, and she's so good in the film.
She's so special.
Yes.
Yes.
You got to work with her in $1 Million Game. And, I worked with Megan. I think I've made 3 or 4 films with Megan now, and watching how she was on set in 113 and then watching how she was on set in Already Dead, it was 2 completely different people.
Yeah.
I remember 113, she had driven from Indiana, like she was kind of on her own, she was out of state, and we really tried to work hard to like do everything we could to make her feel comfortable and at home, and checking in on her and everything like that, because she was still pretty like young, and seeing kind of how she was, she kind of kept to herself and, didn't say a whole lot when she wasn't acting. And then on Already Dead, seeing her interact with everybody between takes and laughing and joking and smiling and having the confidence to say, hey, Adam, can I have another take? I want to try a different version of this. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, like, let's go. Like, that like literally watching over the course of like 4 years somebody grow as a human and getting to be a part of that journey is just one of the most incredible and rewarding things I've ever experienced.
Yeah, you like to keep people around. You have a bit of a core company mentality, which is very
100%.
nice.
Yeah, when I find people that I love working with, I will do everything I can to keep them. I've worked with the same AD a bunch of times, the same gaffer a bunch of times, the same cam ops. Like I've worked with a lot of the same actors multiple times, but I also try to build it. Like every project, I try to bring on new people on every single project, just to have, if it's all the same, all of us, you can't build a community. There has to be variations.
Yeah, and there's no growth if you're insular entirely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But because of that, you get to meet amazing people and, build community. But there's certain people I'm working with like as much as possible every time.
Yeah.
And you all
free,
know
let's
what that's
go.
like. You all know what that's like.
Yeah. You just you have your own language with them that you don't need to explain to
Yes.
someone else. And
Yes.
you trust them and you trust you have the same values and the same eye, and that's
Yeah,
invaluable in
like
this.
literally I have shorthand with so many people that I work with.
That's what
You
I
know,
was gonna
I
say.
was yeah, I was working with somebody and we were replacing a battery in a camera. And it was like whether it was the internal battery for the camera or like a V mount, and we just called the V mount a big, and the little in camera battery is called a little big. And so I would be on set, and I'll never forget when I was like, "Hey, can I get a big?" And she was like, "Yeah, heard." And she walks away, and somebody went, "What's a big?" And it was like, this is why it's good to have these people, because you can shorthand and you have your own language with people. Or,
Yeah.
the two of you work so much together. I'm sure you know this, but like, you don't have to speak. You can just give somebody a look, and you have a whole
Yeah,
conversation
yeah.
with a look. Like I can look
Yeah.
across the room from like can on Better Places to Go. This happened. There was one moment in particular where we were starting our very first kind of blocking, and one of the actors that was performing was on like a 1 to 10. They were giving like a 300 in terms of how big they were being, and I wanted them to be at like a 5, and they were at like a 300. I looked at Faith from
Cool.
across the room, and Faith looked at me, and we had like a 5-minute conversation in 10 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like that
Yeah.
was my favorite thing about Shredded, was just looking over after a take at you, Faith, and Suzanne, and I
Yeah.
could just you all had a whole conversation with a look.
Yeah. I mean, that's and
Also, I don't think our listeners know, Adam Michael, you are the co-writer, you're the director, you're the co-producer of Shredded, which we already had an episode on.
Yes, we should dive into
Toot for
that some
that.
too, but yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Shredded is really the film. It's weird. I've had kind of two, as I view it, I guess maybe three, but two primarily kind of trajectories of film. And there was the initial, I'm learning about film, I'm understanding film, I'm making mostly short films. I had made like, I don't know, 10 short films before I made my first feature. And, there was that trajectory. And then there was the Shredded trajectory, which kind of took everything to a different place. It was the first time, I ever had anything on streaming. It was the first time I made a project that big. It was the first time I co-created a project with somebody. It was the first time I like directed a project that wasn't my direct idea, that it didn't just like come from my brain, like initially. Makayla
And
and
you
I had
just
worked.
loved the idea initially, right?
Yeah, I loved it so much. For the listeners out there, I hated it because Shredded is about, I mean, there's other characters involved, one of which is the incredible cat. You were so good in Shredded. And you can downplay it all you want, but you were so good in Shredded. Your
Your
you.
moments, you delivered 1,000.
Surf's up.
Yeah.
Your monologue on the beach is one of my favorite moments in the movie, and it always will be. Your monologue on the beach was unbelievable. And
Thank
what
you.
we use on the beach was your first take. People need to know that. It was your first take. And that's saying something about you as an actor. And when Makayla came to me about this idea, we had worked together. And so about half the films in terms of main characters is about Makayla, and the other half is kind of based on, something that I went through. And when she first came to me with this idea, I very firmly was like, nah, I'm good. No, I was not public about having breast cancer. I had not talked about it with anybody. I was still kind of in a state of, I'm not ready to talk about it. I'm not ready to be open. And Makayla, she approached me. I said no. She went away. And then she came back and was like, hey, are you sure? And I remember very vividly the conversation we had on the phone where you really kind of presented the idea as a whole. And I remember that as you were talking about it, I just kind of naturally was like, well, what if this and what if this? And then I was like, damn it, we're writing a movie right now. It's happening. And yeah, and then I got started on the script, and away we went. Shredded definitely changed my life. It was really hard to direct Shredded because I was directing kind of my own trauma, but it was extremely, and I'm open about my trauma and about having cancer and going, and I can talk about it so much easier. And I don't think I get there nearly as quickly or as confidently without Shredded. So I will always owe such kind of a debt of gratitude to that film. And being on that film, that was so many people coming together, people from New York and people from Ohio and people from all over the place came together to make that film work. And we built such a family, and people met each other that went on to work together later. And like,
Yeah.
the most incredible community. And watching you and Anthony work together on screen, Anthony Dane, for anybody who doesn't know, played the kind of version of me, which I always say, if you're going to if you're going to make a film about yourself, get a more handsome version of yourself. That was like number one. I was like, nailed it. But watching you and Anthony work together was incredible, and it was such an honor to get to watch both of you work together, and to you both kind of have these really big monologue moments where you talk about your trauma in the film. And you were so brave, Makayla, in tackling that, because you are for the world talking about this thing that changed your life and really hurt you and affected you very, very deeply, and probably still does today. And I'm directing Anthony put the thing that hurt me the most in my entire life out there into the world. So we had so much fun, but it was so heavy at the same time.
Yeah.
So many moments they would be like cut, and then there were just everybody was crying. It was just it was a lot, but I'm so grateful, for that. It was a really incredible experience. And after we made Shredded, I remember I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Aw.
Yeah.
That's special.
Yeah, that's really special. What do you feel like was the biggest challenge of Shredded for you? Besides, it definitely was you watching your own trauma play out and having to direct that. But from like a filmmaker kind of leveling up level and experience, what do you feel like that was for you?
So every film set that I'm on, I always say, if you're on a decent film set and you haven't learned 100 new things by the time it wraps, you weren't paying attention. And for me, one of the biggest things I learned was how I needed to limit myself. We wrote Shredded, produced Shredded, I edited Shredded, I DP'd it, I directed it. I learned that I can't do that again. And that's not
wow.
That's a lot.
like a negative. That's not a negative about like Shredded, but like I learned for myself that I can't do that again. It was so much. And I learned a lot of my strengths on Shredded. I had DP'd most of my short films up until then because of money, money.
Yeah.
But on Shredded, I realized I just wanted to direct. That's what I realized on Shredded.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take anything away from that process, because I very firmly, was interested in DPing that as well because of how personal it was. But I realized that my joy from that film came from the directing side of things.
Yeah.
And that's what I really, really loved. So I learned how to limit myself on Shredded, because that was a real challenge. Having to wear all the hats and realizing that letting go of things, even though it's scary, if you surround yourself with the right people, letting go of jobs is one of the most empowering things you can do.
Yeah.
Trusting having faith in Suzanne there to really guide the ship every single day was such a blessing, I think, to the film. And it made me realize, like, oh, this is what I need in every film. I need people that are smarter than I am at this thing and this thing and this thing. And that was a really big learning point with Shredded. And I also learned a lot of times, I think I learned more of when to speak up versus when to shut up on set.
Elaborate.
Go into
I love
that more.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I first invoked on Already Dead, which was the next feature that I did. But on Shredded, I remember when Anthony goes to do his monologue about how it felt to be watched and stared at and going to the clinics, which was when I wrote that, it was how I felt about having cancer and all the eyes on you and everything. But when he was getting ready to do that monologue, I remember very vividly, I was like, okay, so I'm going to say this thing like this because I want this done. And I just remember I was watching him and he was kind of off by himself. And then it just clicked for me. I was like, oh, he gets it. He understands what he needs to do here. Because I was hearing him kind of running over lines, and I was like, he knows what he needs. And I was like, you know what I need to do? I need to just get out of his way. Get out of the guy's way. And, he did his first take, which, kind of what I said about Kat earlier, is Anthony's first take of the monologue is what's in the film. And it's, it's a 5-minute monologue straight through. And he did it, and he absolutely nailed it. And when I said cut, I broke down and cried, and he cried, and we hugged, and it was such a thing. And I remember very vividly going, I need to learn when to get out of the way. And I also need to learn when to step in and when to say more. Because for me, if I'm on set, I first AD a lot, I'll do like intimacy coordination. I'll do certain things with films. If I'm on set and the director's like, all right, we're doing take 15 and there hasn't really been any notes given, I'm like, why are we doing take 15? Like, what is it technical? Is it performance? Like, I don't hear communication going on. Like, and as an AD, I'll go up and be like, hey, so why are we on take 15? Like, do you want somebody to change something?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, yeah, well, if the actor did this, it would be great. And I would be like, have you communicated that with the actor? They're like, no, you should probably do that. So there's definitely a time to step in and give notes. And I learned about giving very clear and concise notes. Don't give a 5-minute note. If you hire a good director should be a good casting director. So if you hire an actor to do a job, let them do the job. Like, otherwise, why did you hire them? Your job as the director, at least from my perspective, is to understand the story, how it starts, where it's going, and where it finishes. And you're helping to guide the ship. Okay. The actors are the ones that are like, for me, the actors are the water. They're the ones that are actually carrying the ship. The crew is the water. They are carrying the ship. The director is just like, go that way more, and just let the water do its work. So having trust in your people is really, really important. And I learned that on Shredded. Getting out of people's way is really important. And then on Already Dead, I really kind of invoke that, I feel like, and knew when to step in. I felt so much more confident than I ever felt before about, hey, try this thing, or, we're getting set for a second take, technical issue, actor, you're good to go. Just keep bringing exactly what you're bringing. Like, and actors would tell me after that even those little tiny things really help, because it was like, oh, my director has confidence in me. This is a good feeling.
Yeah. And as an actor, it's great to hear a camera issue, we're running again, because as an actor, my first thought is like, oh, let me try something new. I'll give different takes if we're spitballing, but, hearing, no, camera issue, keep it the same, it's helpful.
Yeah. I always try now to communicate exactly why we're doing another take. If it's a safety take, say that. If you want the actor to do the same thing, say it. If I look over at Faith and she gives me a thumbs up on time, I'll go to the actor and say, play around, have fun on this take. Let loose, cut loose, do whatever you want. Or, hey, this is a technical adjustment. We're moving the camera a little bit this way. Actor, can you slide your chair a little bit that way? But Face, you can keep the same, like that kind of communication, I feel like is so, so important. So that way, after I give all those notes, I can just get out of your way and cut you loose and let you do your thing.
Yeah.
And that's
You're just talking about how important that is.
Yeah. I mean,
you're saying it's so nice when like a director tells you you're framing, or they tell you like, what they're looking, because when it's just silent, you're like, all right.
I'll always try to say like,
it makes
hey,
such
your
a
frame
difference.
is like your...
Yeah.
Because it changes so much about performance. It changes your volume level. It changes, your micro expressions. It changes so much. So it's helpful as an actor to know, are we 84? Are we 50?
Yes, exactly. And then
are we just wide?
Very different.
Yeah, and then also, I really also try to not make the assumption that everybody knows what that means. So if I say to an actor, like this happened with Better Places to Go, actually, one of my actors, I said, hey, just so you know, A cam is on a 50, B cam's on 100. And I kind of just very arrogantly, I'll say, like kind of walked away. And I looked, I'm sitting with Faith and we're looking at monitor, and I see the actor and just something looked off. Like, I don't know what it was, but something looked off. I went over, I said, hey, is everything good? And they were like, can I ask you a question? I said, yeah. And they go, what is 50 and what does that mean? And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, that's on me. 50 millimeter, like, and then I got the iPad. Okay, here's the A cam. This is your frame. And then on B cam, this is your frame. And they were like, oh, that's great. Like, thank you. And it was just like, cool.
Close up, extreme close up.
Yes.
Extreme.
And it's...
God, get out.
Pores.
It's like you said, Kat. For an actor, that's beneficial, because do my expressions need to be much bigger, or can I make them much more like tight and compact, and
nuanced,
I can more with my eyes?
Yeah.
That information is really important.
Yeah. Well, we've been talking about better places to go, but let's talk about the journey getting to better places to go, because one of
Yeah.
the things that happened out of Shredded is one of our kind of main people that were responsible for us being able to make Shredded approached you. I don't even know if Shredded was over. Maybe it was before it was, I don't even remember now what the timing was.
Yeah, it was after we had finished filming Shredded and I was kind of in the edit and I was talking about it. Ren Valentino was one of our investors into Shredded, found us on Indiegogo, invested in the project. And Ren and I just kind of continued this relationship of having conversations, and so have you, Makayla, with Ren, who is just such an immensely wonderful human, just so talented, has written so many books and so many plays and everything. And Ren told me, hey, I trust you and I believe in you, and here are my works. And, if you ever want to direct something, let me know. And I
I'm
remember
sorry. Wait, can we pause? So Ren Valentino has a bunch of work, is just searching Indiegogo for creators that he
Yeah.
maybe wants to work with. How phenomenal.
we
It's
were,
like
Executive
something you're
producer
like,
credit.
who
Yeah.
actually does that? But he does that. Wow.
yes,
And that's a testament to
Yeah.
like, you actually never know on Indigo or Seed and Spark if you have like a kick-ass campaign. Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
game changer for us, because Ren connected us to so many people that were literally the reason we could make the film.
yes, 100%.
And I don't have enough good things to say about Indigo in that respect of,
Yeah.
yes, people get on there and are looking for like EP credits or producing credits or whatever and invest in projects.
Yeah. It was game changing. It was life changing, and the relationship and the friendship that's gone beyond Shredded has been unbelievable. And Ren trusting me with his work, said like, oh, here's a bunch of ideas and concepts, and literally sent me synopsis after synopsis of all of his projects and everything, and just said, let me know
I
which
don't know
one.
how he sleeps.
Yeah, I don't either. Like, and said like, let me know which ones you're interested in. I said these 5 are really
Pick
interesting.
one out of a hat.
Yeah, right. And sent me, and I looked into it, and Better Places to Go was a play he wrote many years ago about when he stopped at a diner in Nebraska in the middle of nowhere during a cross-country trip, and the play came from all the people he saw in the diner. And it's a very intense
Diners.
play.
What a through line here.
I know,
Oh
right?
yeah, and even yeah,
I
Diner
know.
to
Isn't that
diner.
crazy?
that's insane.
And I love the story. It's intense, it's funny, it's interesting, it's so many different characters, and it all takes place in one day, which I thought was really interesting. And then there was a restaurant local that I reached out to, and they said yes, and it's by far the biggest production I ever had, the biggest budget I ever had, the biggest cast, the biggest crew, the longest
How big was the cast?
production.
Give us some details. How big was the cast?
I believe we had 14 main cast members and like 6 or 7 extras. We had a crew of like 25 every day. And then we filmed for 2 weeks.
Did you have an Indiegogo campaign for Better Places to Go?
Yes. Yeah. Had a campaign
What
for
was
that.
the goal? Did you hit it? If you don't mind.
The goal was, I think the goal was 20,000, and I think we hit 10,000 through there. And then through there, I had a couple producers reach out to me directly and said,
Wow.
"Hey, I'm interested in the other 10,000."
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we did. It's a SAG film. It's a SAG micro budget, so it had the 20K cap. And I think like literally when we went into production, I'm not joking, I had like $19,800 in the bank. So like right at the 20,000.
You're like,
Yeah, and and we had it, I had actors from all over the country. I posted on Backstage. I got over 1,000 auditions. It was
wow.
it was just wild.
Cat just died on the inside.
It's like,
Yeah, had over 1,000 auditions. I had actors from California, from Vegas, because Makayla's in the film. Spoiler alert, California. I had actors from New York City. I had
Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto. I had,
wow.
just these really incredible people. When Reese is, what Makayla just referenced, Reese Presley, who's in the film, he's come from Toronto. And I remember when he sent me an email and sent in his audition that I posted, like on Backstage, and I went, wow, this really looks like that guy from the movie that I loved, In a Violent Nature, from last year that I saw in theaters. And I was like, oh, it is him. And I was like, what?
You had a little moment.
Yeah, I
He
did.
called me. He was like, I think I know who's going to play your counterpart. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. And that
Canadian?
was,
Yes.
yeah, she was like, get it. And that was kind of a wild moment for me too, because I had never really worked with an actor that had been in a feature film that premiered at Sundance and was in theaters
Yeah.
nationwide. And so that was like really cool. And,
The world
but it
gets
was,
smaller.
yeah, it was just this amazing group of people that work so hard every day to bring this story to life. And we're getting ready to release the first teaser trailer, and I'm super excited about that.
Do we have
But
a
it was
date?
also, what?
Do we have a date for that?
No. We just
Also, wait, too, you had 2 people from the original off-Broadway cast.
Yes. Yep.
Or Sacramento cast. I can't remember which one.
So both, the original
Both
off
were
and the
off-Broadway.
Sacramento. Yep.
And okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was,
Any big names in the original casts?
I mean, for me, but we had Vanessa Menendez, who was in the Sacramento, and Margaret
lovely.
Rose Champagne, who was in the New York. And I knew who Maggie was. Like, when
That's
Ren
so
said
cool.
like, oh, we had some, pretty cool people in kind of the original Go, like so and so. And I was like, wait, I feel like I know that. I was like, has she been in stuff with like Amy Schumer? And he's like, oh yeah, her and like Amy Schumer like worked a bunch of projects together. And I was like, oh my God, I know who this person is. When I had my first conversation with Maggie about her coming on and joining the project, and she said yes, that was when I knew it was actually going to happen, is when she said yes, because I really wanted, and then Vanessa said yes, and I was like, okay, I have people from the original production, like this is going to happen. I have to do this.
That's so cool.
And it's the most amazing film experience I've ever had. It was the best film experience I've ever had. I met the most incredible people, but also, and I was talking to Makayla a little bit about this, it was also in a lot of ways the most difficult experience I've ever had.
Why?
25 was kind of lost to me because of that film. And I'm not saying anything negative about the film. I'm so proud of it. When we released the teaser trailer, which I will say will hopefully be by the end of this month. Yeah, so going through the process, though, when I say that, I started the casting process in March of 2025, and we made it in November of 2025. I am not exaggerating when I say every single day between March and November, I did something working on the film. Emails, texts, phone calls, Zoom messages, script tweaks, audition reviews. Up until we got close to production, I handled it all myself, which is how I do a lot of my projects. And it's not like an ego thing or whatever. It's a money thing. It's expensive.
Yeah. You have to hire someone. Yeah.
But one thing I learned about myself is that I will never do it that way again. I will never make.
I love hearing that.
Yeah. I will never
for your
make
own self-care.
Yeah, 100%. It's for my sanity. When the film was done, I talked to my people in my life and I said, hey, can you guys confirm this to me? I feel like the year was kind of a blur. And they all told me very honestly, because I asked them to, they were like, yeah, you kind of got lost to this film. And I didn't like that. And I didn't want that. And I'm never doing that again.
Yeah.
I am okay with being lost in a project when I'm like working on it and deep diving. But what I realized is I need a partner. I need a team like throughout the process. And that's what I want. I need people to bounce ideas off of. I need people to do. Now, Faith was there, throughout.
Yeah.
She was helping me with final casting decisions. I always say I don't really make any big decisions without running it through Faith because she's so much smarter than I am. And Faith just understands things in a very different way than I do. And I like to say that she's like the technical and I'm the creative kind of side of things. And that's why I think we work really, really well together. But, every audition, every kind of final casting choice before I made it, I said, hey, Faith, can you watch these kind of final 5 auditions and help me make a casting choice? So I brought her in for kind of the big decisions, but all the little things in between I was doing myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just was like, I can't do that again. Not with a feature. A short is different, but like with a feature film of a crew of 25 and a cast of 14 and a 2-week shoot.
How many pages?
I just can't. I don't have any interest in doing
long.
it all
It's
myself.
like 110 or 100 something pages. It's long.
Yeah. And I adapted it from play to script. And that took like a month and a half in itself because I made a lot of little changes. I added characters, I took things away. So it was It was such a crazy process, and I feel like hopefully the two of you get it, where I can say I'm never doing it that way again, but still be incredibly grateful for the experience
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and be in love
Absolutely.
with the experience, because I think a lot of people maybe that hear that go, "Oh, he wasn't happy with it." And it's like, it was the greatest film experience I've ever had.
yeah, yep,
And
Yeah.
worked with the most incredible
yeah,
people, and and got the most amazing shots, and I'm just so proud of it, but the process needed to change. So
yeah,
for 2026, I'm kind of changing it up. I'm doing different things. I'm going to get back to making more shorts and really getting back to kind of the love of making, films, and just getting
yeah.
together a group of people on a weekend and having a good time. And I'm diving more into directing plays. I directed one play last year. It was a lot of fun. It was the play Faith Healer.
Yeah. Well, yeah, yeah,
It was a
yeah.
Brian Friel play, and I
Mhm.
directed that, which was very
That
cool.
was Jennifer and John, right?
Jennifer
Yeah.
Ruth and John Cox, yeah, and just had
Love
a
John.
blast with that, and I was like, "Oh, I think I really enjoy this, and I wanna do this more." And then I got cast in a play. I got asked to audition for a play, like, I wasn't even trying to be, but it was at the Youngstown Playhouse, and, the director reached out to me and said, "Hey, I actually saw this thing that you were in, like, as an actor, and I'm interested in you auditioning for my play." And I was like, "Sorry, I don't act, like, it's not my thing." And he was like, "Yeah, but like you're local. Could you just audition?" And so I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." So I auditioned, and then I ended up getting cast in it, and that was a whole thing, which I think is good. I
Oh.
think
I
if
think
I'm going to
everyone
direct,
should be doing plays. It's
yeah,
good. It's good for humans.
yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
So I have 2 plays on the books right now. I'm going to be directing this year. So I'm really,
What?
really excited about
Are
that.
both at the Playhouse or
So one is going to be the quick answer is no. One of them that I can talk about is actually going to be at Blue Macaroon, where we did a showing of Shredded.
Yeah! Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
What
Yes,
is
I
Blue
love those
Macaroon?
people.
Is it a venue?
It's this
So,
amazing venue.
yeah. My children's entertainment company first worked with them because one of our performers works for Blue Macaroon Theater, their dad. And when we were talking about doing a Princess concert, they were like, "Hey, this theater would be great for you guys to collaborate on." So we collaborated for 2 concerts. And then as we were making Shredded, I didn't know at the time, but they were like so interested in screening it. And I was like, "This is crazy." Well, here come to find out his wife had breast cancer. So then, of course, at the screening, they met and Adam met, and they're just like, the more I learn of people working with them, they're in this teeny tiny little
Yeah.
town that has no arts opportunity. They're like really trying to infuse the arts into the community there. It's in Doylestown, if you've ever heard of Doylestown. The best reference is probably Akron Canton, but it's still like
Yeah. Yeah.
further. I love that. Oh,
Yeah,
that makes me so
they're
happy.
amazing. They show films there, they do plays, they have musicians come in. They really,
Yeah.
really support like local and indie filmmakers and artists. They're just this great little place. And so I had been talking to them for about a year about potentially directing something, and they just brought me on. I'm directing this summer. I'm directing their like summer play.
Fun.
Yeah, so I'm super excited
Yay!
about that.
I love that.
Yeah,
I
so
hear
Well,
a
that'll be
lot
fun.
of directors speak about short films as if they kind of have their purpose and then they move along to features. So it's cool to hear you talking about having done so many shorts and done now a big handful of features that you have this drive to go back to shorts.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I've heard that a lot. I've seen, on IMDb, you get on IMDb and you can see a lot of filmmakers, it's short, short, short. And then as soon as they hit feature, they never go back.
Mm-hmm.
Short films, at least for me, number one, they're a blast. You can have so much fun just making a short. You can meet really interesting people. You can work on creative works that don't work for a feature, because with a short you can just look at this incredibly small pocket of time, and you can just really hit it home. But you can also really hone your craft with a short. You can really focus on very, very specific little things that you want to do. You can hit little topics. And what I say every year is, and if people aren't checking it out, some of the best movies that you can watch every year, like that are nominated like at the Oscars, are their shorts. The shorts that are being made in the
yeah,
world are incredible.
yeah.
And so, that's what I want to get back to. I want to get back to really kind of honing things and having fun and working with cool people and making really cool ideas. And I have a ton of short script ideas. And I think that'll actually help to kind of refill my tank for kind of feature films again. And I'm still working on other people's
creatively.
projects. Yeah, like I've been hired to work as a first AD on a bunch of projects this year already, and stuff moving forward. So I'm working on other people's like projects, and there's like a feature horror film I'm working on in March that's being filmed in New Hampshire at a ski resort. That's going to be cool.
Oh.
Yeah, it's called Shiver. That should be fun.
What's it called?
Shiver.
Ooh.
Yeah. So there's like a bunch of things, right? And for me, I have no interest in getting bottlenecked into one particular category. I just don't. Like I don't want to be known as like a feature film director or a short. I want to direct plays and features and shorts, and I want to work on other people's projects to help make their projects come to life.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things that people struggle with is checking your ego at the door. If you put yourself out there and you say, hey, I've directed 50 films, but I'll be your first AD, then your job is first AD. Your job is not director, right? Like, and I think a lot of people lose that. I have been on projects actually recently where I could see that happening. And it's very interesting because for me, like we talked about in the beginning, I just love being on set. I'll do whatever job as long as I feel like I'm qualified enough that I can fulfill it and do a good job and help make the project better. But I'll be on projects and I'll do whatever job to help, support a project. Because part of what we do and part of what the two of you are doing with this podcast, which I'm a fan of, by the way, before the two of you asked me to come here, honestly, before the two of you had asked me to come on here, I'd listened to and watched every episode. And I think what the two of you are doing is so great because it's so easy to say, here are my people. I got my thing figured out. I'm just going to do my thing and not worry about all the noise and not worry about this or that or other people or, any of that. But what the two of you are doing, at least from my perspective, and some of what you're talking about is breaking, obviously, those walls down and building communication and building networks and building teams and communities and saying that there can be different and better ways of doing things, and we have room to grow and improve and evolve, and we don't have to stay stagnant, and we don't have to just know the same people. But one cool thing that's happening in the industry now is I'm seeing so many people get an opportunity now in the industry that were complete like no names previously, or nobody knew who they were. And they're getting catapulted to like lead roles in shows and films. One thing that I kind of see that's happening, and I think indie film, I really do believe indie film was the inspiration for this, is if you make good work with people that care, you don't have to have your Tom Cruise and Chris Evans and all of that. If you make beautiful work, you can change and catapult lives. Speak like literally the word lives. If you watch Past Lives, oh my gosh, that film
I love
unbelievable.
Rips your heart out.
The writing is unbelievable. The directing is unbelievable. And it was made with a group of people that me living in Ohio, I had never heard of. I didn't know anybody that was a part of it. And I watched that movie and I was like, this is what we can do. Like, this is what we are capable of. Now, if I ever get the chance to work with Meryl Streep, I'll forget about everybody I've ever known and I'll just work with her because she's everything. No, but it's
like Florence Pugh for me. Like, hey.
Right. Everybody is their like person for me, right? They were like, look, you can work with Meryl Streep, but you have to never talk to anybody you've ever known again. I'm like, look, we had a good run, everybody. It's fine. It's all good. Yeah. But I think what the two of you are doing here is something really special and really unique. And I'm a fan and I'm going to keep listening. And I feel very grateful that you asked me to be on here.
Thank you.
So, well, can we ask you one more question before you go? That was such like a wow.
Go.
Thanks.
Go. I'll talk about anything. You can ask me anything. Rapid fire.
Anything. The square root. No, I'm kidding.
No.
I don't know.
God, you just triggered my anxiety.
I know. I was like,
you're like, I left higher education. Let's leave it there.
Yeah, right? Please. Education. I don't have any. Like, don't.
If it is not millimeter and frame size,
I don't care.
Done.
Yeah.
And light aperture. No. So you've touched so much on community, and I think you beautifully segued this for me, but you have built a film festival.
Yeah.
In an area that traditionally has not. I think it's getting better with supporting the arts. But when I was growing up, you wanted to get out because it felt like no one cared about the arts and no one was going to. What was your inspiration for creating the festival, and what is the future? What are you?
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. It's the Youngstown Film Festival, and the reason why I started it is quite simply because it didn't exist. Well, something I've learned about myself is, and I guarantee I'm just going to go on a limb that both of you know this, is you cannot wait around for chances to happen. You have to create them.
Yep.
I wasn't going to wait.
Gatecrashers.
I wasn't going to wait for a Youngstown Film Festival and then submit my films to it. I was going to create one. So I created the festival. And once again, I had no clue what I was doing. But everybody said, go to Film Freeway because that's where all they are. And I went there and I looked at all these pages and, I registered, the film festival name and I put it on Film Freeway. Something that was really important to me was if you're a Youngstown area filmmaker, it's free to submit to the festival to really kind of support local artists and then trying to find a venue. And we've had it in a different venue every time to try to highlight a different area of Youngstown. And, for me, it was, at the first festival, I didn't know who was going to submit to that. I'm like, who's going to submit to the Youngstown, film festival? And, we had some amazing films and, one of the films was a documentary, and the person who submitted the documentary was Emma Underwood, who is now one of my favorite humans on earth. And I've made so many projects with her, and I met her through the film festival.
Awesome.
And then in the second film festival, we had a film submitted that was executively produced by Abigail Breslin, the Academy Award nominated actress, and I was like, wait, why Youngstown?
How'd you find this?
Why are you in Ohio?
Well, yeah. And they were like, well, a lot of our cast and crew actually came from Ohio. And I was like, oh, and they were like, yeah, so we wanted to support Ohio film. And, so it's been this incredible opportunity. And the actual lead in Better Places to Go, Havan, I found out about him because a film that he was the lead in got submitted to my last film festival. And I remember watching the film. It's called Emerald City. And I remember watching it and I was just like, who is this guy? And I reached out to him about auditioning. And, it's like I tell everybody else, like, just because you audition and I know you doesn't mean you're going to get the part. Like, I try to be fair. And he auditioned and I was like, well, that was easy.
And who else came from Emerald City?
And then our incredibly talented DP, Matt Hayward, who lives out in LA. He was the DP for Emerald City. And that's why I contacted Joseph, the director. He came to the film festival. He drove like multiple states to attend the film festival.
Where was he based? Festival, do you know?
I think he's in Michigan. And like after the film festival was over, I asked him, I said, oh, what made you come here? And he said, well, because I believe in just supporting arts. And I was like, okay, well, this guy gets it. Why doesn't everybody else get it? And so I got connected to Matt, who was our DP, and did an incredible job with Better Places to Go. I got connected to Vaughn. I've met so many amazing people, and what I keep trying to tell people is everything that you endeavor, every chance that you take, every new set you get on, I'm going to try this thing, I'm going to start this podcast that you two of you were doing. I try to tell people, I'm like, put yourself out there, ask questions, make connections. During lunch, sit with somebody new on a set, like on a lunch break. Don't sit with the same people that you know. Sit with a new person, right? Strike up a conversation. If somebody is the boom op and you've never done sound before, ask them how they got into it. Find out about their journey and their life. And I'm like, I promise you, you will meet incredible humans and make amazing connections that could potentially like change your life. Like I worked, 3 or 4 years ago now, 4 years ago, on a really interesting horror film that was made in West Virginia. And I didn't know anybody that worked on the movie. And when I was on that movie, I met Faith, who is, my partner and just one of the most incredible humans that I've ever met in my life. And I met Ashley, who is my best friend in the whole world. Like I met these amazing people, and it was only because somebody made a post and said, hey, we're going into production in like 2 weeks and we need this one thing filled. And I messaged a person and said, hey, I can do that thing. And they said, okay, you're hired. It was
also, isn't the star of Sleepaway Camp in the film?
Yes.
Felissa Rose. Yes. Yeah, I got to work with
For all the other horror nerds out there.
I got to work with Felissa Rose. I got to work with Robert Mukes, who was like in House of a Thousand Corpses and all the Rob Zombie movies. I got to meet these amazing people and build these incredible connections. Yeah. And it's like you meet people and you build relationships, and some of the coolest connections I've ever had in my life, and some of the coolest people that have changed my life and changed how I view the world, and changed my path and my trajectory, and just, kind of everything. I owe it to film. I owe it to taking chances and speaking up, and, and then sometimes it goes the other way. Like, I've also been on projects that I have excused myself from, or I've excused other people from.
Yeah.
Because they were not good people to have and be around. And I think a lot of us, we shy away from talking about that. And I totally get, we want to keep it positive and everything, but we also need to protect our community. And we need to remember that part of being a responsible filmmaker and a creator is getting the toxicity out of our community.
Completely agree.
It is never
one bad
lost.
apple can
Yeah,
sour
it
the
is
bunch.
never lost on me that, there are bad people from everywhere, but it's not lost on me that the majority of people that gave the film industry such a horrible name were old white men. That is a real thing, and young white men, I'm sure. And that is a real thing. And it is something that we are battling. And I know every time I step on set as a director, I'm a white male, and I am aware of that. And that's why I just try to surround myself, like I said, with people that are smarter than me. I try to have representation in my cast and my crew. It's important because we can't just say that we want change. We have to be the change. We have to create the change. And that loops back around to this right here. That's what the two of you are doing. You're literally enacting change. Like, I'm being serious about that. The two of you are so busy, and you're constantly doing things and working on things. And, when you have the amazing things that you're doing together, I'm such a fan of the Mercy Cage. Like, I think it's amazing.
Aw,
So I get so excited to read it every time it comes out, and you send like a new chapter of it. And then, oh yeah, on top of that, I'll just have a podcast. It's like, but
I'm gonna need some under eye filler here.
Right? But it's what we love.
Bluefaline.
But it's what we love, and that's why we do the work. I make films, but I also run the Youngstown Film Festival, and I'm the director of the Youngstown Ghost Tour, and I was the stage manager of the holiday parade this year in Youngstown. And I had somebody say to me the other day, like, "Aren't you exhausted?" And I go, "Yeah." And they were like,
Yeah.
Then why do you do it? And I said, and it's what I said earlier. I said, because I can't do anything else.
And you're still happier than the corporate job, right?
I love it. I love it.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's the best.
I have to plug my computer in.
I don't know if I ever told you this or not, but when I was doing an interview for the Youngstown Film Festival, I think it was the year Cul-de-sac was in it. I remember one of the questions guy kind of, not even asked me, but he just kind of said, he goes, "Do you think it took someone not from Youngstown to do this, to like see the potential in Youngstown?" And I was like,
that's interesting.
Yeah, because those of us who kind of grew up, we kind of wrote it off essentially, because it just felt like no one was ever going to listen to us. And having someone kind of come in and see the potential. I mean, there's not many places that you can kind of shoot wherever you want for free and get people that are really excited and will bring food. And there are so many benefits to being in a smaller area than moving to New York or moving to LA or moving to
100%.
these big film hubs. And I think you've done an amazing job of finding the beauty in that and really bringing out the community that's in Youngstown and even Cleveland.
Yeah.
Not just
thank you.
bringing out the community, but lifting up the community too. Giving opportunities to the local businesses, giving a stage to local filmmakers and other filmmakers. You're really good at fostering.
Well, thank you. Shut up. Thank you. Thank you. No, I agree with what you said. I get that vibe a lot in Youngstown. Honestly, there's still, I would say, the vast majority of people, when I do these things, they kind of look at me like, why? Like, they're like, it's Youngstown. Why are you doing this artistic thing? But then there's also really amazing people like Mel and Cindy. And, there's these really great people in the area that are trying to build the kind of more artistic vision and trying to take it in that direction and really trying to support it. And, it's growing. We actually have a ton of really small, amazing community theaters here. That really do amazing work. Like the Youngstown Playhouse is absolutely incredible, and they're expanding and they're growing, and they're opening a new theater this year. And like Hopewell Theater is really, really cool. And there's like Millennial Theater Company, and like there's a bunch of like theaters and companies in the area. And I'm always surprised. I post about the Youngstown Ghost Tour every year, and we get tons of auditions. And I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what? There are a ton of really amazing creative people here. It's just that like nobody knows it. And I love being a part of bringing that out. And we're located in such a cool area. We're right in between like Cleveland and Pittsburgh and Columbus. We're like centrally located in that like triangle. And so we have people coming from those areas to like do stuff here. And I want to keep bringing people in here, but I also want to, help to expand the Youngstown and bring them to other places, not just bring people here, but bring them to other places.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's important.
Also,
It
sidebar, I think community theater is essential, integral, and saves us as humanity. Community theater is essential, I think.
I love it. I love community theater. Because it is driven by one thing and one thing only, which is passion. That's what community theater is driven by. It's driven by love, passion, and, hopefully support by your local area. But, Faith acted in a play, towards the end of last year, and going and seeing that play. And I remember it was towards the end of the run, and it was in Hopewell Theater. And I had the conversation with, well, I hope, like a decent amount of people and it was sold out. It was a sold out showing.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the run, they had actually announced that as a play, not a musical, because musicals attracts a much larger audience, but as a play, it was like all 6 or 7 other performances were completely sold out.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Wow.
I think that's a beautiful thing. And that shows that we have something here. Like we have these things we can build on, and people just need to trust in that and help to support it. But like we have all the pieces and parts to build and grow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
Keep
that
building.
makes it
Keep growing.
Yeah. But that's made it a beautiful thing for film premieres too. Like, everywhere we've gone, there is, I think maybe because there's not as much to do in Youngstown, there aren't a million things you can go and do on a Friday night. Like, you say we're going to have a red carpet and we're going to premiere this brand new film, and it has these local people and they're going to be there, and people show up in a way that you can't always do in New York or LA or other big cities.
The premiere of Shredded was unbelievable. It was amazing, Columbiana, and Kat got to be there. Like it was a night that I'll never forget. And I met people coming up to us at the end of that night, and hey, I don't know you, and I just saw this thing posted about this area, but I just wanted to come check it out just because I was free. And they were like, wow, you made this, and people around here were a part of it. And people were like,
there were other
away.
actors and filmmakers there who found out about it online and showed up full glam.
Yeah.
And they were just excited. And it was so cool to see people making connections and getting to know one another.
Yeah, when I had my premiere of Already Dead, which happened a few months ago, I was in the theater. I was in Golden Star Theater, which is where I first met Makayla, working on Theater 4. I was in
Best
that theater
theater ever, hands down.
They've always supported us. Like, they're just amazing. And I was at Golden Star, and a group of people walked in, and I remember I was like, oh my God, I feel like the worst person ever. I don't know who these people are. Like, I feel awful. I don't know who they are. And then it came out, they were like, oh, we saw you talking about this on the news, so we wanted to come and check it out.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And it was like a big group of people, and they all bought tickets, and they came afterwards. They stayed, they chatted with me. They asked me a ton of questions. They asked if they could take pictures with the actors, and the actors were like, okay. And they were like, hey, can you sign this thing? And the actors were like, okay, yeah, sure.
Yes, that's so cool.
And just watching that happen, like I just felt so proud, and you really get to feel like you're a part of something.
Yeah. And that's just where I go to. Like, we have to keep making movies for the cinema, because there's nothing like those experiences, watching everyone sit together and experience a film together.
I know. I still remember sitting in the theater. It was on the Super Bowl, like 5 or 6 years ago. I was like, I'm not interested in the Super Bowl. And so Em and I went to the movies, and we saw Parasite, and it was the first time I had seen Parasite. And there was a group of people there, and I was shocked that there was other humans there, and they were all like, yeah, we didn't care about the football. And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And us and that group of people, when that film was over, we just hung out there and we talked about the movie, and we talked about how it inspired us, and how beautiful it was, and where are you coming from, and where are you and we exchanged contact information. And I'm just like, this is in the smallest scale. This is what this world does. It literally brings people together, and you connect in art when you love movies when you're young, it's fun or it's cute or it's kitschy or it's whatever. But when you meet those other people that love it the same way you do, it's like, okay, this is my family. These are my people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, in kind of closing here, any final advice you want to give, and then any links / things you would like to plug where people can find you.
Yeah,
and
which
find
will
your
be in
work.
the description for all of you.
Yes, we'll link them all.
So
Voyeurs.
yeah, right. So yeah, hi everybody. I'm Adam Michael. But my company is Candid Life Entertainment. That's my YouTube and my Instagram. You can find a lot of my works and postings there. And some of the work that I've done can be found on like Amazon and Tubi and all that kind of stuff. And I think for me, the biggest thing is the killer of people not being successful in this world and industry and any world involving art, whether it's film, television, music, painting, whatever it is either thinking it's silly and I should get a grown-up job, or just being exhausted and walking away from it. And if you're exhausted and you need to walk away from it, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But come back, come back to it. And I get emotional talking about this because it was really scary to take that chance. And it's scary to do it every single day and to continue to take that chance. And yet I would not change a single second of a single day since I made that decision. So if you get exhausted and you need to step away, don't feel like a failure. Don't feel like you've blown it. Don't feel like I need to go get that job back or whatever it is. Step away, but come back, because we need you. And we need to grow this industry and we need to build this community, because I know me and I know Makayla and I know Kat, we're not going anywhere. We refuse to go anywhere, and AI is not going to get rid of us.
True.
Nope.
And we want our team to be bigger and we want our families to be bigger. So, if you are listening to this and you've thought about doing this, take the chance, even in the smallest way. Get on any set, get on film groups, look at Facebook, like whatever it is. Reach out, because we're here and we want you to join the group. And I promise you, if you are a person that has ever had a creative idea about anything and you're afraid to do it, you could be one of those people that could make a film or write a piece of music or make a painting that could change the world. And it's not hyperbole and it's not exaggerating. Every person that ever changed anything started with, I have a silly idea, but they were just the person that did it. So you can think this sounds as cheesy as you want it to sound. And I don't care, because I stopped caring a long time ago. Yeah. But if you have the idea and you have the drive and you have the interest, do it, because you won't regret it.
Mic drop. That was
Thank
beautiful.
you, Adam Michael.
You both are amazing.
You're amazing.
You guys
we'll
are amazing.
link your Instagram, your IMDb, your YouTube, anything else you want people to find?
Yeah, Youngstown Film Festival. We're on Film Freeway.
Yeah.
So if you've made any work, please submit. If you are low on funds or things are tight, shoot me an email. I'll send you a waiver. I want to watch your film. I want to show your films. I want people to know your name. So reach out to me. There is no excuse for not having your film in a film festival. Reach out to me. But yeah, that's where I'm at. And find me and reach out and let's connect.
And for the people who want to submit to the Youngstown Film Festival, when is the next one?
The next one is coming up in just a few months. Yeah. So get on that and submit. Get on that.
Get
and
on it.
Yeah. But you both are great. Thank you both so much for doing this. I appreciate you.
You are great.
We appreciate you. This is so great.
This is fun.
All right, everyone. That was Adam Michael. Goodbye, Adam Michael. That's Makayla, and I'm Kat. And Derek, let the beat play out. And now we dance, because the beat's playing. Toot, toot.
Toot, toot.
I'm becoming sleepy now.